Let me throw out another name, and a guy that there was a lot of chatter about him moving last year at the deadline. Nick Schmaltz. Now they got to get him right.
Someone said it in the chat earlier.
They got to get him right. He is not producing at the same clip he was last season. He's obviously out hurt right now, although it's minor. But he is a guy who can help offensively. He has we know who Nick Schmaltz is at this point. He has 2 more years left on his deal. I don't know if the Coyotes would have to eat some of that money. They might with so many teams cap strapped at this point. But what could Nick Schmaltz fetch you at the trade deadline? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I don't know what his value is on the open market. And there's 2 reasons. His consistency of play and his injury history. I think those 2 things would really limit his return. I think he's 5.8 for this plus 2. It's not a terrible number in today's NHL. It's doable with the cap going up, hopefully in the next year. I think teams would look at that as an attractive number. And maybe if, you always hear this, well, Schmaltz has been successful on a bad team. You put him on a good team with good players and surround him with good players. He'll be, this team's not as bad as people think, first of all. And he's been playing with a really good player for years now. My concern about Nick Schmaltz is the same thing it was 2 years ago, is he's hurt. He didn't get bigger and stronger. And he doesn't play consistently night in and night out. And that's a concern that I know, if I feel that way, that there are management teams across the NHL that feel the exact same way about Nick Schmaltz. When Nick Schmaltz is good, when he puts on his work boots and goes to work, kid can play. Yep. He's got elite speed, puck handling skills, playmaking ability. Kid is elite. The problem is you don't see that motor running all the time. And that would be the concern. So, to your point, he's a guy right now, he's 27 years old. If the right deal came along, that $5.8 million could go to something else.
Yep.
I wouldn't have a problem with trading Nick Schmaltz. And I know people out in the social world freak out, but he's 27.
Clayton Keller might freak out.
Well,
too,
that's the concern in the chat is what
Clayton
happens
Keller wants to win.
To Keller. If
You want to win? People want to win. Like we talked about this with Vancouver, and we all love Rick Tocchet now. You know why they love Rick Tocchet? Because they're winning. If they were in last place with the same coach, they'd hate him. So things are much, much better when you're winning. And Clayton Keller will get over it. If he's got a winger that gets him points, and I think he can find it, he'll be much happier winning. I'm not sitting there actively trying to get rid of Nick Schmaltz. I'm not. And I don't even think that there's a huge market for him right now. First of all, he's hurt. And I know he could be back hour to hour. That I've never heard in my life. But he was hour to hour. And maybe that he could command that. But he's also going to have to get some points now between now and the trade deadline. Because I don't think he's put up the kind of numbers that a team's going to go, we're really going to take a flyer on Nick Schmaltz right now.
I think he maybe diminished a little bit from last season. I think he had really high value last year.
Too.
They probably sensed it and thought,
I'm sure they thought about it.
Yeah.
And it comes back to Keller. Do you want to keep your superstar, your all-star happy? And I think there's a point, yes, you do, but also it's a business. Yep. And if we can get better by moving that asset, if we're better, you're better. Kels, you want to have a parade down Mill Avenue?
Yeah.
We got to do this. And I think ultimately, I don't feel that pressure. I don't sense that pressure from management right now that they have to get rid of Nick Schmaltz. I don't feel that. But if he gets hot over the next month, I would absolutely consider if you can get the right return, because I don't think he's going to be a guy that's here 3-4 years from now when the team's ready to win. I don't.
I agree.
And I don't think you build around him either, where you can with Clayton Keller.